What a week. Thank you for all the energy and excitement and passion that you bring to ESIP. And thank you for your chat responses. If you haven't already shared, I would love to hear what is something you learned this week that sticks out to you. You can drop it there. It can be something serious or lighthearted. It can be technical or philosophical. Maybe you learned something about yourself or the field. How did we grow you in your work this week? For me, my top three were the coffee breaks with great conversation and creativity. If you missed Allison's stretch and art break, man, I think we'll do those again because that was really popular. It was super fun. I loved the lab plenary, highlighting the diverse and exciting work that is funded through our lab awards. And finally, the research showcase. Personally, for me, my favorite poster was from an undergraduate, Stefania Fernandez from Argentina. She shared her undergraduate research on beach erosion and accretion. And seeing the kind of work that is happening at the undergraduate level today was so inspiring to me. And it was just really great to have so many students participating. So at past winter meetings, we typically close with our annual business meeting and giving you a state of ESIP talk, announcing the results of our elections. With shifting our elections to the summer meeting, that has freed up some time on our closing plenary. Rather than give you an update on the state of ESIP, and spoiler alert, we're doing well, and we will go into that this summer in Asheville. Instead, we are going to have some serious fun. And by that, I mean I want to get into a few serious topics of real importance to the ESIP community and do it with some fun. A few of you have seen a version of this from an invited talk I gave as part of an AI session at AGU 2022 with Douglas, Rob Redman, and Eric Keene in Chicago. So forgive me the reuse, but over the last year, I have continued to think and expand on this theme. A couple of years ago, I was watching my son's middle school play, The Wizard of Oz. And while I was sitting in the audience, a number of parallels struck with me. Is there anyone who hasn't seen The Wizard of Oz? Think back to the story. For some of you, we may be digging into your childhood memory archives. And I want you to use the chat. I want you to tell me what is a lesson you take away from the story of The Wizard of Oz? And I'll give you a moment to think about that. Flying monkeys are scary. Indeed, there's a lot of scary things out there. We're going to talk about that, Doug. Absolutely. Is Glinda actually good, right? Looking at people, how do you know the good and bad? And when Dorothy lands, they assume she's a witch, right? But are you a good witch or a bad witch? Severe weather hazards. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Stay away from windows during a tornado. Bruce has some wisdom there. Excellent, excellent. So you guys know the story. So again, using chat, which character most resonates with you? Laura, there's no place like home. Nice. Anybody have a character? Tin Man, Toto. Oh, we have lots of Totos. I love it. Dorothy wouldn't have gotten in trouble if she had Geo collaborate. Of course, Dave. Wicked Witch, Maggie. I don't know if I agree with that. Dorothy. Excellent. So, as far as the lessons of the Wizard of Oz, for me, and someone noted it, beyond, thank goodness, the National Weather Service has much more advanced storm prediction and warning systems, likely thanks to many of you. The lesson centers around building and sustaining effective partnerships and teaming up with unlikely partners. So let's have a little fun, not take ourselves too seriously. It's Friday after all, right? Come with me on a journey to the land of Oz. Well, I can relate to many of the characters. I would like to start with Dorothy. At one point or another, I think we have all been Dorothy. You land in a new place. Maybe you've just started your PhD. Maybe you're a new professor or you're starting a federal fellowship program. You arrive on day one and you are orienting yourself in a strange and unfamiliar place. Perhaps you realize you've stepped on a few toes upon arrival, or your house landed on a witch. You haven't made the best impression on some. Or maybe there's others like the munchkins who are super excited to welcome you, and expectations are really high, and perhaps you aren't even sure entirely why or if you can live up to that. Generally, you are very overwhelmed and everything looks very strange. You long for home, or maybe a home. You are looking for a feeling of belonging, security, and companionship. You are told to go on a quest to find the wizard who will fix all your problems. So, scared, confused, and alone, you set off on the yellow brick road in search of answers. As you follow the road, you meet others who, like you, are searching for something they are missing, and they join you in your journey. You encounter the Tin Man, bright and shiny. We'll call them private sector. They are looking for a heart. Next, you meet Scarecrow. We'll call them academia, is looking for a brain. And then Lion, appearing big and scary. We'll call them government, is looking for courage. You head off together, new friends, cautious but optimistic, hoping and believing that finding the wizard is the destination you are seeking, and he will answer all your problems. But in The Wizard of Oz, what happens when they get to the wizard? Does the wizard use his magic and they all live happily ever after? No. At first, the wizard is aloof and inaccessible, right? Someone said, don't believe the man behind the curtain. The wizard doesn't help them. And in fact, the wizard sends them back out into the scary wilds of forests and poppy fields on a mission. He tells them to get the witch's broom and bring it to him. Back into danger, more work, more barriers. They're frustrated and disappointed. Have you ever felt this way? So the four go off, disappointed and frustrated, but on a mission. They work together, encountering all kinds of barriers. Sometimes they want to give up. They push themselves in each other, and in the end, they succeed. They return to the wizard, and amazingly, he still doesn't do his magic because he explains that what they needed all along was inside them. By working together, they brought out the best in each other, and together they were braver, smarter, kinder, and stronger than they were alone. And through their adventures and work together, they have made lifelong lasting connections that will serve them over time. To me, this is the epitome of cross sector partnerships. Cross sector partnerships are hard, and when done well, some of the most rewarding. Why is that? When we cross sectors, we harness the power and capabilities of a broader cross section of society, expanding what is possible and increasing the reach of our work. But cross sector partnerships are hard. Why? We have to bridge the cultures of the different sectors to be successful. It doesn't require culture change per se, but cross cultural understanding. This is a term I learned as an undergraduate, as an international studies major. To truly cross sectors and develop cross cultural understanding, we need to recognize and appreciate the elements that underpin each sector. And I hear you, Susan. I'm a computer scientist, I'm a data manager. I just want to get to work on the challenges I see. Understanding your potential partner's opportunities and limitations will help you assess the characteristics you need to assemble the best team for the challenge at hand. And branching out from your normal crew, your regulars, will help expand the range of what is possible. So, this next part wasn't covered in the movie. The core elements that influence the different sectors are their business model, where and how they get their funding, their speed of work or agility, and their risk tolerance. Understanding these three elements can increase transparency in your partnerships and help you build trust. Ignore them, and you can miss key dynamics and insights. And yes, these three elements are absolutely connected and influence each other. So I want to dig into that a bit. So, business models. How are the organizations funded? What is the cycle for new funding? And what is the duration and security of that funding? Government agencies are funded by tax dollars. They are accountable to the public, and their work has a key element of public good. They have set mandates, and their budgets are usually set a year or more in advance. Academics are typically grant funded. Grants can be government or private foundation funded. There is often pressure to have novel research, something new, and it can be hard to get grant funding for sustaining a continuing project. Academics can often leverage graduate student enthusiasm, but have high turnover in that support and have a real seasonality to their work cycles given the academic year. Private sector is funded by profit from the sale of a good or service. They must be responsive to market needs or they will not generate revenue. They in turn take those profits to fund research and development, pay employees, and pay taxes, which feeds into the government. The type of funding inherently impacts an organization's agility, their ability to shift and pivot quickly, the speed of their work. It also impacts their ability and willingness to take on risk, which is why you see these three elements here connected, each impacting the other. These are key dynamics in any partnership. Unless you have personally experienced working in multiple sectors, it can be challenging to understand these three dynamics and their interplay. The federal agency budgeting process starts at least a year ahead of time. While federal funding is often seen as stable and long term, good for sustainability, the opportunity to pivot quickly is challenging when federal budgets are designed a year or more in advance. Further complicating matters is our current trend of continuing resolutions, which tie the hands of leadership even more when looking to implement new initiatives. In academia, research grant cycles allow the opportunity to create new teams and to try out novel approaches. But funding typically has a cliff like end, something we talked about in our last session. If you have never worked in an environment where you are grant funded, the constant need to allocate hours and seek funding for the next thing, it can be hard to understand that pressure. And in the private sector, a sector where I simultaneously see the most tension and opportunity in ESIP, they must make a return on investment to survive. Depending if they are a large, mature company or a small startup, can determine their ability to take risk and invest in new capacity. Typically, their funding is more accessible and flexible, enabling them to pivot more quickly and take on more planned risk, especially if it allows for the potential to develop a new product offering that can serve as a differentiator. Each sector has distinct opportunities and weaknesses. Building your partnership team with an insight into these dynamics will allow for greater understanding and opportunity. As I see it, partnership building can be like music. Think of yourself at the mixing board with all the levers in front of you. Given what you know about the challenge ahead, what is the right mix of skills, risk, and resources for the task at hand? Based on your challenge, ask yourself, what is the pace that is needed for this work? We often think we can't move fast enough, but what about long-term sustainability? How much risk is involved with the project? Who is the end user audience? Programmers or the general public and decision makers? How user friendly does it need to be? Dial up and dial back the different levers in front of you and then build your team. Most importantly, ask yourself, who are we missing? At ESIP, teams are often those who show up, right? Who comes to the cluster call? But there is nothing preventing you from strategically and proactively inviting others in. Last year, we refreshed the ESIP mission and vision to capture the ambition we have and the need we see in our world. I love the starting world of our mission, empower. To me, empower goes beyond one person or one entity, but it is helping and engaging with others. And our new vision is big, really big, a world where, not just the United States or developed countries, a world, and making earth science data actionable, not just by those who know how to code, or those who can navigate open source packages, or those who have the latest software tools at their disposal, all who need them. We need to leverage all our skills, resources, and expertise to achieve this. It is my hope that ESIP can be the place where you find the people with the energy, enthusiasm, and shared passion to walk with you on the yellow brick road, and that you will invite others in to join you on your journey. This work isn't easy. ESIP doesn't provide the ruby slippers, but we provide the collaboration tools necessary to allow you to work effectively. Like the wizard, ESIP staff doesn't provide all the answers, but maybe just the magical setting. The magical setting where people across sectors and career stages, with a passion for data-driven problem solving, a lot of heart, brains, courage, and curiosity can come together. So while the metaphor may seem simple, I want it to be memorable. Challenges like data and AI ethics are complex. They can't be solved by one entity or one organization alone or in one week alone. Our work continues. When you are working in partnership, return to the land of Oz. When you are on the yellow brick road, remember to be curious. Don't be afraid to go somewhere new or follow a path you haven't taken before. Allow others to join you on your journey, especially those who don't look like you or may not even share the same goals as you. In The Wizard of Oz, the four main characters weren't looking for the same thing, but by working together, they all found what they needed. In your partnership, do you have your Tin Man, your Lion, and your Scarecrow? Work to understand limitations and others' limitations and motivations. Be transparent in your agenda, your timing, your funding, and the amount of risk you can take, and gain an understanding of others' perspectives to help you build trust among your team and create the right team for the challenges you face. Don't be discouraged by setbacks. Do you feel like you are wandering? Have you fallen asleep in a field of poppies? Have you reached the wizard and been told in a loud, booming voice, "It can't be done"? Are you encountering the Wicked Witch of the West? Regroup. Regroup with your team and find another way forward. Be relentless in your search. And lean into the power of team. The strength you get from each other, build those relationships, and they will be the ones you come back to time and time again, regardless of the challenge. So while Dorothy says there's no place like home, I like to think there's no place quite like ESIP, and we would love to be your Earth Science Data professional home. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I would love to move and take any questions that you may have. And really, I just want to scan the chat because I saw it going crazy over there. Annie, I think we have a link to Slido, and Annie was going to help me with the question.
Yes, so there, I think Megan was popping the link in Slido a few times, but we already have a few questions there. Looks like Dave has the most upvoted question thus far, so let's start there. How can ESIP provide an educational service to federal agencies? Let's see, I'm reading this, that they can't do anything in partnership, empowers all. Let's see, I'm just going to read it straight. How can ESIP provide an educational service to federal agencies that they can't do everything and partnership empowers all parties, like connect to users? Did you get that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I am always on the lookout for which federal agencies can we bring in, right? And how can we bring in more? We are so grateful for the support of NASA, NOAA, and USGS. Not only do they provide us with financial resources, but amazing people, right? As you see this week, right? People that give their time to the organization and show up and engage in the conversations here. I know folks like Steve Young has been trying to invite EPA in more actively for many meetings. Introductions help, right? And reaching out and inviting others to come in, right? I know that our meetings sometimes with a registration fee, there's a barrier, but the collaboration areas don't have that barrier. Um, if user engagement is something that becomes a priority, that could become a cluster. We could have a user engagement cluster and go through a bunch of series. So it's what you want to make of it, but I'm always happy to brainstorm ideas on where is the greatest need and where is the opportunity that ESIP uniquely serves.
Thanks, Susan. All right, the next one we've got the most upvotes for is, and it looks like there is some info in chat as well, but I'm going to keep going with Slido since we're getting questions coming in there. So how would you describe ESIP in these terms? Agility, business model, risk tolerance. So I think they're talking about your
Yeah,
triangle slide.
that's a great question. So business model is interesting, right? It was interesting. So with the staff, we've been working on a community database, and all of the models, all the off the shelf products we looked at, we're like, wait, you don't charge membership? Oh, oh, we don't even know what to do with you. We've got all this invoicing for you, and good news, we will not be invoicing any of you anytime soon. Um, so our business model is we are predominantly government grant funded, but I am looking to find ways to bring in additional funding. Registration fees and sponsorship are vital, and that does impact our model and our focus, right? Because we are funded by NASA, NOAA, and USGS, so they have a say in the agenda by that funding by nature. It's interesting, agility for ESIP. So I think it was 2 years ago, it was my first AGU in New Orleans, and I gave a poster on how do you make an organization more agile, right? And looking at ESIP through the lens of how can we be more agile, right? Because the challenges we are looking at as a community require us to be able to move quickly and pivot quickly. And so I tried to look at, are we as agile as we need to be? And that framework, which came out of McKinsey, it talked about your governance, your decision making. It talked about, oh goodness, I'm blanking on all of the elements of it, but we did try to look at um, the decision making piece of that, and then funding, right? Like being able to get funding to committees and for special project needs for clusters if they're publishing a paper. What are the things that we can do to be more responsive when the community comes forward and says we've identified a need? So I'd like to think that ESIP is pretty agile, but we're a full-time staff. When we're not a full-time staff of 5, we are a mix of full and part-time at 5 staff members. And so ESIP is going to be the work of ESIP is going to be done by the volunteers, and the staff is here just to empower that, right? And the amount of risk we take on is very much how much risk do you as a community want to take on in the work that you're doing. So that would be my response to that.
Okay. The next one up is, and this is, I think, referencing kind of something you said towards the very end of your talk. What is ESIP's something new? What is the next big thing we can do as a community?
Mhm. Oh, goodness, I mean, so many things. So one of the many things I love about ESIP is it is not a static organization, right? There is very little that is static about ESIP. We just stood up our equity EDIJ, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Justice Committee. Um, I'll be talking a little bit more about that a little bit later today. That committee they are about to set out and define what their priorities are going to be for the coming year and years. So that is something new and super exciting. I look at the open science cluster that started a year ago, right? They have new leadership this year. Where are they? Where are they looking to go? Other new things, we have our strategic plan, and we are partway. We're more than partway through our strategic plan. So if you want to influence what is going to be new for ESIP, I know that Denise Hills is going to be standing up a team of folks to review our strategic plan and help chart that course. So I would say, unlike many nonprofits where the executive director lays it all out, the community nature of ESIP is we want to hear from you. Where do you want this community to go? And then we will look to see how we can enable you to do that.
Thanks. And I agree with Megan that if folks in this audience have a how you would answer that, what's our next big new within ESIP, that I think that would be a great conversation to take to chat. So thanks, Megan, for that suggestion. All right, I'm intrigued about what you're going to say about this one in terms of business model and things that may have not been tried. Are there ways to use crowdfunding mechanisms like Kickstarter or GoFundMe to help provide money for this work? Talking diversifying funding streams for all the
Yeah.
things that we're trying to
Um,
accomplish.
my initial reaction is let's have conversation about it, right? I want to know who Anonymous is, so contact me and let's talk about it. What work are you looking to do that is not resourced, right? And then we can look comprehensively at what are the various avenues. Kickstarter and GoFundMe they don't leverage ESIP's nonprofit status. So that like if people give to those, usually they wouldn't get a tax deduction. ESIP can receive direct contributions, but we can't solicit direct contributions. And I can go into the details on that more. We would have to register in all 50 states in the US and possibly other things internationally to be able to ask directly for charitable contributions. It's crazy. But if there is something you want to do and funding is the barrier, let's have a brainstorm about what that thing is and who might be the best place to go for it. We have some restrictions in our governance that ESIP cannot be a pass-through funder, and that's to help us stay focused on our mission of collaboration. But we do all of our clusters are eligible for special project funds up to $5,000. But if the needs are greater than that, there's the ESIP lab, or there's other opportunities we can discuss. Allison will say in our T-shirt fundraiser, when you purchase a T-shirt, there is an opportunity to make a donation to ESIP, and that does come to us, and that's a little bit of a loophole on the I'm not asking for money; it's part of the T-shirt.
All right. Thanks, Susan. Let's go to this one from Steve. So ESIP says it has been within us all along. Can we get there? And we've always had this ability. Wait, can we get there? And we've always had this ability. In this context, what are the slippers and what is it?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. So what is it? I think it is that secret sauce of what you get by working together with other people, right? Each of us, for the most part, shout out to our amazing retirees that show up at ESIP on their own time, but most people come to ESIP as part of their professional organization, their professional affiliation, their day job, as we think of it. If we all stay in our silos of our day job and do the work we're paid to do with the resources and the teams we have at our employers, we miss out on the it. To me, the it is what you get at ESIP when you work with people who have similar challenges, but maybe a different perspective, maybe from a different place. To me, that's the it, right? It was in us all along by working together and leveraging carefully using my metaphor around digs. Yeah. So that's the it I see. The it is the magic of that coming together to a place where you get to be outside of your silo. The slippers. I actually almost used the slipper metaphor when Bruce called on me in the last session. Like he said, okay, Susan, like what's ESIP doing about this? ESIP does the ESIP staff of 5. We don't do the work of the community. We don't solve the problem. We actually don't set the agenda, right? Like the slippers is the easy solution. Here you go, Dorothy. Put on your slippers, click your heels together, say there's no place like home, right? Someone could have told Dorothy that at the beginning of the movie if the slippers really worked, right? She had to do the work. She had to build the relationships to get where she was going. And so that's why I was saying we aren't the slippers, right? Like we aren't the solution. We aren't the answers. You guys are both the questions and the answers.
All right, I think we have time for one more question, and Pierre has the most upvoted one, and I know it's one of Susan's favorite topics. ESIP influences networks beyond the US. Is there an internationalization plan? Chapters, what happened to E2SIP?
Oh, Pierre, the magic question. And I can't remember if you were in the session, but there was a debate in chat earlier this week. Is ESIP an international organization? It was actually, I think, in the COPTIS session, maybe. So the board had in the past has written a white paper on the internationalization of ESIP, and I can make sure you get a copy of that. We do not have a formal plan like chapters. I view ESIP as an international organization. I pulled the stats for Leslie. Let's see if I have them here. Part of the reason I like having a virtual January meeting is that I think it makes the meeting more accessible to a wider range of people. Here we go. At this meeting, we had 16 international participants, representing 7% of our total registered attendees from 11 different countries. 11 seemed high to me. We had some new countries that we haven't had participating before. So we had representation from Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Germany, Ecuador, France, Great Britain, New Zealand, and I put Puerto Rico on the list because culturally they are a bit of a different place than continental U.S. And I wanted to kind of recognize that. So we absolutely are an international organization, and the challenges we want to solve and what we want to work on, and if we're going to achieve our vision, it is a world. It's not just the U.S. The reality is that today ESIP is primarily funded by US federal agencies. And they give a little bit of leeway and a little bit of room for us to participate in international dialogue. So the places I try to engage are RDA and GEO are the two primary ones as far as global entities. So we do as much as we can under the constraints of what our funding is today. That doesn't mean that the funding model can't change. It just hasn't. And for us to truly be an international organization, I think we would have to be funded and staffed very differently. To your question of E2SIP, Leslie, if she's on, which I don't know if it's really early Leslie's time. Leslie was really hoping we would have more Australian participants. She's been trying to recruit new folks in to so she's not the only one. And we have a couple folks that show up in different clusters from time to time from Australia, but right now E2SIP it's not as vibrant as Leslie or I would like. So we'll keep working on it. I was very excited to go to International Data Week, my first international travel with ESIP, and we'll be looking for opportunities. And certainly, with your perspective from Europe, help talk to me, keep me plugged in. Let me know where you think the opportunity is for us to engage and get the most the most reach for the investment of time and money.
Great. Thanks, Susan. We have a couple more in Slido, but I think we're just going to have to check those out later. And for now, move on to the next part of our morning plenary. So thanks, everyone, for your thoughtful, insightful questions and all of the banter in chat.
Excellent. And Allison, can you bring the slides up? Great. Thank you. So while my focus today has been on partnerships with organizations, and while ESIP is an organization of organizations, we know that the true magic, the work and the effort, is most often done by extraordinary individuals. I would like you to help me recognize our incredible ESIP staff, Patty, Annie, Allison, and Megan. Without them, this week would not be possible. If I could, we were joking about maybe a blog post of like behind the scenes of an ESIP meeting. If I could show you all the things that happen behind the scenes, you would be amazed. This year, we are also excited to welcome 10 brand new community fellows. This is a record in a couple of ways. 10 is the largest class of fellows we have had, and all of our fellows this year are new. It's a fellowship that can be a 2-year fellowship. ESIP Community Fellows are current graduate students who embed with a cluster and support our meetings. I hope that you saw them throughout the week and will seek them out throughout the year. And I want to recognize the ESIP board. Last week, they approved our newly formed Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Justice Administrative Committee, moving this group from an advisory committee, which is more temporary in nature, to a standing administrative committee. This reflects the weight and importance of this work and how it is viewed within ESIP. I want to thank the outgoing chairs of the advisory committee, Bruce Wilson and Nancy Ritchie, and I am pleased to announce that Steve Diggs has been appointed chair of this group and will hold a seat on the ESIP board. I am grateful for the past and current leadership that has brought us to this point. If you have an interest in participating on this newly formed committee, please reach out to Steve or a member of the staff. Meetings are open to all. I am also pleased to announce another addition to the ESIP board. Rich Signell has been appointed chair of the ESIP nominations committee. This important committee will help prepare for the next ESIP leadership election, which will happen in the weeks leading up to our July meeting. We are currently looking for nominations committee members to work with Rich on this important task, and we are asking everyone in the ESIP community to consider leadership opportunities in the coming year. I also want to thank and recognize our technical committee chairs. This group of leaders also forms the ESIP program committee. They are key to helping us see and realize opportunities for collaboration across ESIP. And last, but certainly not least, I would like to thank our cluster chairs. The work of our clusters could not happen without the leadership of our cluster chairs. This list is our 2023 cluster leaders. We are excited to have new and emerging leaders in many areas for 2024. We are always looking for new leaders to step forward. It is now my pleasure to recognize other outstanding individuals in the ESIP community. To help with that, I welcome Denise Hills, ESIP's president, to announce the recipients of this year's Peer Recognition Awards. Denise?
Thanks, Susan. This is one of my favorite things that I get to do as president because I get to recognize some of our amazing volunteer community. Each year, the ESIP community recognizes outstanding accomplishments, achievements, and service of individuals spanning the earth sciences, geoinformatics, data, and computing. In the spirit of this year's theme, Grounded in Trust, Data Ethics Empower Collaboration, this year's awardees show how individuals help build and maintain the foundations of teamwork and initiatives. ESIP's Catalyst Award is given to participants who have brought about positive change in ESIP by inspiring other members to take action. And so this award recognizes exceptional volunteer efforts. This year, I am pleased to present the Catalyst Award to Amy Barkouchis from Development Seed. Amy has been a tremendous leader of the ESIP Cloud Computing Cluster. She is also one of the co-authors of the Cloud Optimized Geospatial Formats Guide. We've seen the cloud computing cluster size and enthusiasm grow significantly under Amy's leadership, where attendees regularly join the monthly calls and host innovative sessions at ESIP meetings. Congratulations, Amy, and we are grateful for your energy and leadership. This year, we also asked our awardees to share with us a landscape that inspires them. And Amy's favorite landscape is Arches National Park. Amy, would you like to share a few words with us?
Yeah, Denise, thank you so much. I was so honored and humbled to receive this award. It's been really an amazing past 3 years that I've been leading the cloud computing cluster. And I did want to do the cliche thing of thanking other people, which since I have this opportunity to speak on I wanted to really say thank you to Rich Signell, who first suggested that I take this opportunity to be a cloud computing cluster chair. And his vote of confidence really led me to take on a lot of sort of feeling of responsibility to make the cloud computing cluster all that it has been. And I also wanted to thank Charlie Haley, who has helped me sort of finesse the sessions that we've had in the past ESIP meetings for the cloud computing cluster. And I also just wanted to take this opportunity to say that I think last summer we had 3 cloud computing cluster sessions, and we changed from the normal form, sort of the standard format of having, 5 to 10 minute presentations followed by discussion. And I was very inspired by the EGU e-lightning poster session, where you have very short sort of you have short short talks to sort of advertise your topic. So you sort of advertise your topic in sort of the way that you see like a movie trailer. You just have like 1 minute or 2 minutes to talk about your topic, and then people break out into groups to deep dive into the topics that are most interest to them. So yeah, like I said, I just wanted to sort of take this opportunity to say, feel encouraged to break out of the standard format, to take advantage of people's social and creative natures, and have like more engaging discussions. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. And Amy's ideas really sum up what the Catalyst Award really should embody, is kind of inspiring others and taking things in a slightly different way. Our next award, just a second, I'm not at my normal space today, so things are a little different. This award is very special to me. The next award is the ESIP President's Award. Recognizes an individual who has made significant tangible contributions to ESIP. ESIP is a really special organization that thrives on volunteer work, and this award looks to honor volunteer contributions in our community. This year, I am so pleased to present the President's Award to Dave Blodgett from the U.S. Geological Survey Water Mission Area. Dave leads the ESIP IT&I committee. He's been willing to undertake organizational artifacts, including revamping the IT&I format and examining the stewardship and purpose of the ESIP Wiki. He's willing to see the value of what has come before and envision how these tools can evolve. One of Dave's favorite landscapes is in the Wisconsin Driftless area. Dave, would you like to make any remarks?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'll also blame Rich Signal for all this, and thank him for being so confident in the young career folks, because I mean, my beginnings with ESIP came from people like him and Ted Haberman and some of the folks that have come, had really strong careers before us, and I appreciate the comment that I embrace kind of things that have come before and find ways to build on it. It's always been important. And I think it's important for everybody to recognize that we're very much building on the shoulders of giants here. And it's really good to see all that and have that perspective. And I guess I'd say, thanks to everybody for taking part. It's so critical that we all engage and see our little piece in this big whole. And yeah, let's just keep it going. So thank you so much for the award. It's very much appreciated.
Thanks so much, Dave. And I think that Dave's comments to me highlight how we don't always see how our contributions maybe are as important and as big as they truly are. All of our contributions are more than the sum of their parts. The next award that I am so pleased to give is ESIP's Partner of the Year. This award is selected by the Partnership Committee and honors an ESIP partner organization that best exemplifies the spirit of ESIP. This is often displayed through collaboration, supporting data exchange, contributions to the ESIP community, or leadership in earth science data. It is one of our only awards for an organization. I am so pleased to present this year's Partner of the Year Award to the team at Element 84. Their work to open doors to open science, which was the theme of 2023, speaks to the powerhouse collaborations that Element 84 cultivates. Following their merger last year with another ESA partner, as Avea, the company's mission in geospatial tech expanded to support end-to-end processing for clients who want to improve the planet. Specifically, Element 84 contributes to the open geoscience spatial community through the spatio-temporal asset catalog ecosystem and their own public API endpoint, EarthSearch, that gives users stack-compliant access to cloud-optimized data formats maintained on the AWS Open Dataset project. They also create and share data visualization tools like their geospatial tech radar. Within ESIP, Element 84 shows up in bold colors, quite literally, as the co-designers of the reusable lanyards and many of our beloved t-shirt designs. Previously, Element 84's president, Tracy Palom, served as ESIP board treasurer, and she continues as a member of the finance committee. Element 84's enthusiastic team contributes in multiple collaboration areas, projects, and outreach efforts. One of their favorite landscapes is Founders Park near their office in Alexandria, Virginia. Accepting the award for Element 84 are Dan and Tracy Palone. I invite you to share some remarks.
Thank you, Denise, so much. That was so nice to hear for honoring the company. Element 84, we're actually going to turn 14 in March, and we've been participating in ESIP since the beginning. And as a small business just starting out, ESIP was welcoming of the entire team, and it was really a great place for us to learn about open science and open data. And it's really helped us grow ever since. So we're really grateful we've been able to give back to ESIP through the years, and that our efforts are being recognized today is really icing on the cake. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for being. Dan, anything else?
There's nothing I can add to that. No, thank you so much. I've actually been at ESIP. I've been involved in ESIP longer than I've been involved in Element 84. So it's a phenomenal community. It's so awesome to be able to be part of it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Finally, we have one last award. We have our Martha Maiden Award. Named for Martha E. Maiden, Program Executive for the Earth Science Data Systems at NASA, the award honors individuals who have demonstrated leadership, dedication, and a collaborative spirit in advancing the field of Earth science information. It is my pleasure to introduce Bob Downs to present this year's award.
Thank you very much, Denise. In honor of Martha E. Maiden's leadership, dedication, and tireless efforts to nurture the ESIP Federation into a vibrant and mature organization, I'm honored to present the 2024 Martha Maiden Lifetime Achievement Award for Service to the Earth Science Information Community to Dr. Robert S. Chen, whom we refer to as Bob. Bob is well known as a leader and a scientist among members of the Earth Science Information Community, and is recognized for his dedication to data management, open data, and sharing of earth science data and information. Bob also exemplifies the collaborative spirit of ESIP through many activities that he has initiated and contributed to over the years. Bob was the manager of the ESIP partner CDAC, the NASA Socioeconomic Data and Application Center, until last year, and was one of the early members who contributed to the formation of ESIP when it began over 25 years ago. Bob has since served on many committees and contributed to the success of various ESIP activities that have benefited from his contributions. He also has served as a role model, offering guidance to many community participants so that they also could contribute to ESIP. For example, Bob has encouraged many, including me, to participate in ESIP. He also has encouraged staff at other organizations to join ESIP as partners and to contribute to ESIP efforts. Bob has actively participated in many ESIP activities through the years. Examples include the ESIP Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Justice Advisory Committee, and the ESIP Disaster Life Cycle Cluster, and previously active clusters like the ESIP Public-Private Partnerships Cluster and the ESIP Earth Science Data Analytics Cluster, to name a few. Bob also has encouraged students and early career professionals to consider becoming ESIP fellows and to join ESIP activities related to their interests. He also has recognized many others for their accomplishments. Bob is retiring as the Director of Season at Columbia University. His efforts to improve data stewardship have contributed immensely to practices, not only within ESIP and NASA, but also the science community internationally. He also has brought out the best in others and has raised the level of professionalism, collegiality, and collaboration within the community. Learning about the opportunity to recognize Bob for his many contributions to the ESIP community, several people offered to provide letters to support his nomination. These serve as a testament to Bob's selfless contributions to ESIP and the earth science community. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Robert S. Chen as the 2024 recipient of the Martha Maiden Lifetime Achievement Award for service to the information science community. Please welcome Bob to share some remarks with us.
Great. Thank you, Bob. And I really appreciate the recognition from ESIP for this. And thanks to you and the selection committee, to Susan and all the ESIP staff, Denise, and of course, see Dave put in a reference to Martha. So kudos to Martha, whom of course helped, well, I worked with from very early on. So I'm really honored to have this. And as Bob mentioned, it's coming just a couple days before my last day at Columbia next week on the 31st of January. So if you don't mind, I'm going to indulge in me. I've been reflecting a bit on my career in the last few months. I'd actually announced my retirement about a year ago. But I do recognize how lucky I've been to work in this kind of field. It's been exciting. It's evolving fast. There's high impact. And in particular, there are a lot of people who are dedicated, innovative, and very welcoming, like all of you. And ESIP, I think, has been a real key part in bringing all of us together over the years. I did start in this field before ESIP came along. Like many of you, you probably started out as computer nerds or whatever. I started submitting programs on punch cards with a real live IBM 360 mainframe. In college, I worked at a engineering firm in Manhattan, and later for a institute called the National Bureau for Economic Research, which was next to MIT. And that's actually one of the places where I learned that time series methods that was used in econometrics really could be applied to climate data. And of course, it's not an accident. John von Neumann, the polymath, kind of invented some of the methods that were applied in both fields. So, that kind of cross-disciplinary work came in handy, for example, in my master's thesis on analyzing land and sea-based temperature measurements from ships and surface and balloon sensors. Working with Professor Reginald Newell at MIT. And of course, back then, when you're talking about Fortran programs and 9-track tapes and all that fun stuff. And just one little bit of trivia is Tamara Ledley and I actually shared an office at MIT more than 40 years ago. So as a grad student, I also spent a couple of summers at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder and worked with the climatologist Steve Schneider And back then, GIS had not really been invented or developed. So I did a lot of spatial analysis of USGS topographic maps by hand to quantify sea level rise impacts on the US coastline. And that led to really my first paper that was published in 1980, and also did a thesis on risk assessment of sea level rise. So, that's just to demonstrate that most of us learned our data wrangling, at least in those days, mainly working in our in our specific disciplines. But we also learned that those methods were really applicable in a lot of different areas. We learned this stuff on the job, and I had a lot of different jobs working for the Federal Aviation Administration, the National Academy of Sciences, YASA, the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis. And I also worked in something called the World Hunger Program at Brown University. And particularly at the Academy, we dealt with a lot of data issues, including the very first report on CO2 and climate, chaired by Joel Charney. So in 1993, I moved to Michigan to join Season and became the first project scientist for the NASA Socioeconomic Data and Application Center, or CDAC. And that was a kind of an interesting time. The Mission to Planet Earth program was forming the Earth Observing System Data and Information System, and Martha Maiden was the architect for it, and she set something up called the level 2 requirements that all the distributed active archive centers had to meet. And so CDAC had to go through that process of meeting these level 2 requirements. But NASA also had the idea that it was important to think about integrating remote sensing with socioeconomic data. And they had the foresight to wanted to do this not just for supporting interdisciplinary global change research, but to develop applications for broader audiences. So, I was lucky to be at the right place when these things were happening. And in particular, 1998 was quite a transformative year. First of all, Season decided to move from Michigan and became part of the Earth Institute at Columbia University at the Lamont campus. The Mission to Planet Earth program became the Earth Science Enterprise. And of course, the ESIP Federation was established, responding to the need for a community where, the traditional data centers, the different federal agencies involved in remote sensing, and the broader research and data communities from both the public and private sectors could interact. And Martha was central to that. And as Bob mentioned, CDAC was a founding Type 1 member. So I think after 25 years, ESIP has proven to be the really valuable community and boundary organization and network. And I've really been happy to be part of its development. And I do want to say that despite the many activities Bob mentioned, I haven't really tried to play a major leadership role in ESIP. I'm really happy that people like Bob have contributed a lot, and I've had the privilege of working with all sorts of ESIP people, Dave, Chris Lenhart, Tamara, Carl, Bruce, and also some of the people who aren't with us anymore, Peter Fox, Rob Raskin, Charlie Falkenberg. But this has been kind of the focal point for a big part of the community, at least here in the US and North America. But I want to appreciate that ESIP is recognizing sort of the broader set of data work that I've been engaged with. I've been very active in the Group on Earth Observations, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the International Science Council's World Data System and Committee on Data, the Inter-University Consortium for Political and Social Research, the American Geographical Society, can go on. Working in the sustainable development data community, which is its own separate but parallel world of data. We're lucky now that data science is now kind of considered a discipline, and a lot more data is open and accessible, but we all know how much work it's taken to get to this point and how much more has to be done. So, even though I've stepped down from CDAC and I'll be out of Columbia next week, I do know that CDAC will continue to be active in ESIP and led by Alex DeSherbinen, whom some of you know, he's the new CDAC manager. And of course, Bob, who's now one of our CDAC's project scientists. I do want to point out, this is a critical juncture for NASA. There's a new generation of satellites, obviously a lot of new people at NASA in the Earth Sciences, or in the Earth Science Division. NASA needs to reinvent EOSTIS in a new world and to take advantage of new approaches and technologies, increasing its impact, but still keeping the continuity and stewardship and user engagement that EOSTIS has been nurturing for more than 25 years. So I do think NASA and other federal agencies need ESIP to help create, resource, and implement the next generation of infrastructure that will ensure that data and knowledge we all depend on is made available to all, and to meet all the pressing challenges of climate change and sustainable development. So thanks again for this great award, and thanks to all of you for your continued work and dedication and collaboration. Even though I will be retired, I am hoping to make it to Asheville, so I hope to see all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob, and all of our award winners. I would like to encourage everybody, if you'd like, to unmute so we can show our appreciation for this year's award winners. Like I said, I think this is my favorite part of being ESIP president, is that I get to acknowledge all of our wonderful volunteer award winners. But I also want to express my gratitude and thanks for all of our volunteer leaders and every one person who has participated in ESIP, past, present, and future. It's been said earlier, ESIP is a community, and the people are what make it. I do want to do one special call out because they never get as much recognition as they deserve. I really do want to express my thanks and gratitude to the ESIP staff for yet again organizing and making it seem easy to us to host a virtual meeting. I would love to give them a big old round of applause as well. This has been another amazing virtual meeting, and I am grateful to all of you. And thank you for participating both here at this session and in all of the breakout sessions earlier this week and in all of the plenaries. And with that, I would like to turn it back over to Susan.
Thank you, Denise. And yes, I'm going to echo her congratulations to all of our award recipients. And I know that all of you would like to congratulate them too, and in person. And this is something we've wrestled with a little bit. So we will continue this celebration of these award recipients at our opening reception in Asheville. So I want to see you there so that we can celebrate them and high five in person. So while our week is done, our work is not done. Please help us create the best possible meetings for you by completing our meeting evaluation. We will put the link in the chat, and then we'll also put it in an email. Might even save that email till Monday. It's Friday, right? Like, well, I'll let you look at that on Monday, but you'll have the link in the chat now if you'd like it. And you can also rate individual sessions in Sketch. This feedback is vital, and I can promise you, I read every single one. If you put your email address in there, I might even respond to you with a question or a comment that you had. If we have inspired you this week, please continue the conversations. The work of ESIP happens throughout the year. The best way to stay connected is to sign up for the ESIP update, our weekly email. You can also join our active Slack space with 2,000 earth science data professionals and check out our monthly cluster calls. So I hope that you all have a great weekend. I will see some of you at AMS in Baltimore next week. I'm wearing my purple, go Ravens, but Sunday, the traffic in Baltimore will be horrible. Feel free to reach out to me if you're going to be in Baltimore so that we can connect. It's my first AMS and I'd love a buddy. And thanks for all your energy and enthusiasm that you bring to ESIP. We really appreciate it. Take care.